If there's one man you've got a right to be jealous of, it's this one, Jay-Z. World-renowned rapper, record label executive, producer extraordinaire, fashion mogul, and philanthropist. And if that wasn't enough for one lifetime, he's also married to the most bootylicious babe in the world, Beyoncé. So why did this demigod of rap suddenly decide to call it quits and retire back in 2003?
I said, I'm happy. You know, I'm happy with what I've accomplished as a solo artist. Like, I feel like, what else can I accomplish? You know what I'm saying? Respect for my peers. I have that, Grammys. I have, like, what more can I say as an artist?
But with that amount of raw musical talent coursing through his veins, the question we were all asking was, he can't seriously retire, can he? Is this the last we'll truly see of the mighty Jay-Z? Originally christened Shawn Carter, Jay-Z grew up in the tough housing projects of Brooklyn, New York. Abandoned by his father at 12, having once shot his brother in the shoulder, and with the occasional dabbling in drugs, life was not looking too promising for the young Carter. Luckily, though, fate had other ideas. Keeping his brothers awake at night by banging out endless drum patterns on the kitchen table, Shawn's musical abilities were beginning to flourish. His constant freestyling, lyric writing, and obsession with rap earned him the nickname Jazzy, and it wasn't long before Shawn began to see music as his one-way ticket out of the crime-infested neighborhood.
You know, you see the cycle. It happens all the time in the projects, you know. You're having a certain life, and it leads either to jail or it leads to death. So, I mean, it's up to you to change it. And for me, it was like, what I'm gonna do? Like, I'm gonna just keep running the streets forever? What I'm gonna do when I get 30? You know what I'm saying? That always stuck with me. So, I had a talent to rap, but it was a gift, and I didn't recognize it as a gift in the beginning because it was a gift, so it came easy for me to put words together. And my mom will always be like, you know, anything that you want, you got to work hard for.
Although now fully concentrating on music and beginning to generate positive feedback, no major label would give Jay-Z a second look. His only option was to start up his own independent label. He named it Rockefeller Records and released Reasonable Doubt in 1996.
That's my favorite album. That's my baby right there. I have so many special songs. As far as the guest appearances, I'm just amazed at the people and the level of talent I got on it between Mary and Big. You know, having both of them on that album. You got to remember, I was an artist out of nowhere. I didn't have a single out on anybody's record. I didn't have a record deal that everyone was talking about. You know, I just came out of nowhere, and to have those type of that level of talent on your debut album, you know, it was a blessing. I mean, everything just worked out.
Later included in Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Albums of All Time, Jay-Z's debut effort kicked off one of the greatest careers in rap music. So when Jay-Z announced his coming out of retirement tour in 2006, a collective cheer went up around the world. Taking in global destinations as diverse as Poland, Seoul, Beirut, Dubai, and Australia, he was once again calling the shots and well and truly back on track.
There's a lot of places overseas I haven't been. I haven't been to Australia. I haven't been to Africa, Egypt. It's a lot of places I haven't been. So I figured, you know, I get a vacation and see all the places I want to see and get to play music for people who haven't yet, you know, experienced, and they haven't experienced what I do. yet, but they've heard my music. They've heard my music, but they've never seen me live. Well, in London, I've been there a couple times, but I haven't been there for 2 years. But you know, places like Australia and different places, I've never been there, so I'm excited about that.
And now that the master of flow was back, he realized what he had been missing all along.
I think it's great. I think it was wonderful to bring hip hop to a broader audience. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think it's a beautiful thing. As long as you're not compromising yourself in the process, I think it's a beautiful thing. You know, pop is just popular. I just believe in people put boxes on music so they can easily digest it. But I just believe in good music and bad music.
An acclaimed hip-hop innovator himself, Jay-Z is always on the lookout for the next big thing.
I certainly believe there was a lot of more superstars in like around 96, 97. You had Big, then you had, I mean, prior to 96, you had Big, Pop. Now you had so many different talented artists from different places. Now it's a bunch of talented guys, but they're not breaking all the way through. You know, for some reason, I don't know if it's the way the industry is now or whatever, but it doesn't seem like the next level, the next wave of superstars hasn't arrived yet. So I mean, it'll happen. I mean, it has to. It's inevitable. But I just believe it hasn't arrived yet. The next wave of superstars.
But in the meantime, Jay-Z is staying focused on the task at hand and making sure he brings first-class enjoyment to his loyal legion of hip-hop fans, treating them to live renditions of hits like Can't Knock the Hustle, Hard Knock Life, and Ain't No Nigga.
But the reason I'm here and the reason I'm on this whole entire international tour is I wanted to come back and touch people and you know, go out and see people who've been listening to my music for over 10 years, who know my music, who live my music, and just never seen me up live and close and personal.
And Jay-Z supporters were lining up around the globe to welcome back the prodigal rapper.
I guess the concert's going to be cool. Like, you must play his classics, and Jay-Z's Jay-Z is cool.
To see it, I only see it in New York. I only see it in States. Now it's first time in Thailand. Looking forward to it.
The show was hot. The show was really hot.
And for Jay-Z, the rapturous reactions from fans across the world reinforce the power of music and the ability of the street language of rap to make a genuine connection.
There's no higher level than to hear like 20,000 people screaming your lyrics and knowing every word and feeling it and crying sometimes. You know, that's when it gives back on the highest level.
Since then, he's been reaching even higher levels thanks to a $150 million deal with concert promoter Live Nation. Some commentators were surprised at the size of the deal, but to Jeff Mayfield of Billboard magazine, it stacked up.
Jay-Z was one of the first artists in rap who was able to not just open big, but hang around the top 10 for a while, hang around the top 40 for a while. And then the other rap that was on rap music was that it doesn't tour, that it's not live music. But here's a guy who's on tour now with Mary J. Blige, and the tickets cost $185 a pop. There are more expensive tickets out there, but that's a pretty handsome ticket, and the show's doing quite well. So, you know, he may not tour as much as rock acts do, but he will bring you more in that arena than a lot of hip-hop artists does. So for those reasons, it might make sense with him.
Jeff was proved right a few months later, when, after months of controversy surrounding his upcoming headlining performance at Glastonbury, Jay-Z silenced the critics by blowing the 150,000-strong crowd away.
It was good to see that he could do a show on his own. Like, he lived up to the hype in a lot of ways. There was a big entrance, there was a big build-up, and he nailed it. He didn't have to bring anyone on. Beyonce was backstage. He could have rang a number of people to actually make the show bigger, but he didn't. He did it all himself, so fair play to him. I think that proved a lot as well. I think the fact that he held the stage on his own as a one-man show, it's very rarely done, in especially Glastonbury.
Leaving aside the man's formidable capacity to rap, it is Jay-Z's incredible talent for business that has helped make him one of the richest people in the music industry, out-earning fellow hip-hop impresarios like P. Diddy and 50 Cent. As well as heading up his original independent label, Rockefeller Records, he served for 3 years as president and CEO of hip-hop superlabel Def Jam Recordings. His aim in taking over the position in 2005 was to bring an artist's perspective to the top job. Given the power to make or break new artists, his priority was to protect the integrity of signed acts and to make it all about the music.
You have to let, I like to say that the inmates running the asylum now, you have to let people infiltrate the system in order to correct it. You have to get in there. People that's outside of the system have to get inside the system in order for it to be better, in order for people not to take advantage of artists, in order for people to care more about the music, you know, than quarterly numbers.
As if running 2 record companies and a highly successful performing career weren't enough, Jay-Z was also one of the first artists to extend his reach beyond music and into the fashion industry. In 1999, he teamed up with business partner Damon Dash to launch Rocawear, an urban clothing line that soon expanded its range to include everything from socks and sandals to sunglasses, and now boasts an annual turnover of $700 million. After selling the rights to the Rocawear brand Iconics for a cool $204 million, Jay-Z can afford to be a little smug.
You know, in the beginning, people thought hip-hop was just a passing fad, and that's what people say about urban apparel groups, you know, companies. You know, they say that, you know, it's just this thing that happens over a couple summers and then you go away. But, you know, we started this in 1999 and we're still here, still like #1 in our sector, so we're still here.
Despite selling the rights to Rocawear, he has retained his stake in the company and still oversees the marketing, licensing, and development of new products, like a new social networking site that offers style and music news. But for Jay-Z, Rocawear is much more than a money-making venture.
So I'm very hands-on. I'm hands-on. I mean, I've become lately, in the last three years, you know, I'm here, you know, on a daily basis. But, you know, I'm very hands-on with the designs, the marketing of it, and, you know, just the overall look and feel of Rocawear because it's my voice.
And partly due to his success as a fashion mogul, when Reebok approached him to create his own sneaker, the boy from the wrong side of New York couldn't believe his luck.
I think I grew up in the projects, you know what I'm saying, and we had to prepare to get shoes. It took us months. We had to save up and take out trash and do chores to get sneakers. So, I mean, to go from that to having your own sneaker, just the most incredible thing in the world.
It went on to become the fastest-selling product in Reebok stores around the globe. Jay-Z had become the artist and entrepreneur of the moment, and it seemed that everything he touched turned to gold. In recognition of his uncanny ability to tap into the zeitgeist, he was named 2006 GQ Renaissance Mogul by GQ magazine.
It's the standard, right? It's the standard. It's where you look to see if you're on pace or, you know, hopefully ahead of time.
And indeed, the man who was once simply known as Shawn Carter has always run ahead of the pack. Even during his short-lived retirement period, Jay-Z saw no reason to kick back and indulge in some R&R. Instead, he spent his time helping to right some of the world's wrongs with Ground Roots charity work. And with past collaborations with Eminem, Pharrell Williams, and Jermaine Dupri proving musically successful in the past, he thought nothing about teaming up with them again. But this time, their audience was the main man himself, the United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan.
Most of us take water for granted. We turn on the tap and there's plenty of it. Or if we prefer, we can buy hundreds of different brands in the supermarket. But for more than 1 billion people who lack access to safe drinking water, this is an inconceivable dream.
In the beginning, when I was going out on the world tour, I was going out to play music in places that I haven't played before. But I said to myself, I can't go to these places I haven't been and not go out and see the people. To see the people that been touched by my music for over 10 years and the culture and what's going on in these areas, in Springs at Cipriani's and things like that, that we'll get involved. So I had John reach out to the great folks at MTV, and then this thing then reached out to the UN, and this thing just morphed into something incredible. So I'm very excited to go out, not only be a rock star in these countries, also to help, and also to visit places where we could see the efforts, you know, of our contribution, and these things are taking place, and these things are actually affecting change. It's not something that we're saying and you just never see the fruits of your labor. So I'm excited.
Which in Jay-Z's world meant tackling the problem front on by joining forces with the UN. Starting off in South Africa, the aim was to educate young people around the world about the world's water shortage crisis and the battle to maintain proper sanitation.
There has to be some type of programs in place, and it shouldn't take for the cameras to come on for people to start building wells and things like that. This is just something that should have been done just out of, you know, necessity. I mean, you know, the numbers are staggering of the people who don't have access to clean water, and what people consider access is like, I'm guessing, like a half a mile.
As well as helping the less fortunate overseas, Jay-Z's philanthropic nature has also played a role closer to home. And when his hometown of New York came under attack on September 11th, the Brooklyn-born rapper was left deeply affected.
It looked like a movie to me. It didn't look like anything that it could be real. So the last thing I was thinking about was an album. The first thing I thought about was what happens from here. Like, you know, what happens tomorrow? How is this whole thing is gonna continue? And I was in Los Angeles. Was there anything I can do? Then I turned on the TV September 12th, and I saw footage of these heroic actions.
And so on the 8th anniversary of September 11th, Jay-Z found a way to give back to his beloved hometown, as announced by New York Governor David Paterson.
And to know that a benefit concert will be held on September 11th, on the 8th anniversary of that tragic day, by one of the world's great performers and also one of the world's great philanthropists, a person who has great business acumen and personal sensitivity, none other than Shawn J.C. Carter.
For Jay-Z, there is no greater priority than maintaining close links with the area that he and his family grew up in. He never wants to forget where he came from.
Yeah, I think to give back is the responsibility of the individual, you know, and you know how they feel inside. It's just, you know, just something that, you know, that I'm comfortable with. You know, something that, you know, I've seen growing up. I've seen everybody that was successful coming from where I came from. They never came back to the projects to, you know, share the knowledge with, you know, the people that, you know, that were there trying to figure out how to get out as well. So, you know, I've always had that in the back of my mind. If I ever was successful, that, you know, that wouldn't be me. You know, you see things of certain characteristics in people, you say, I'm never going to do that.
And not only does Jay-Z believe music has the power to affect people's lives, in particular, it's the power of hip-hop that drives him to perform. But for this Jay, it's all a part of moving forward and taking his life's work through to a stage beyond the musical one.
Those records, so I guess it's my evolution, and it's me now in the forefront, you know, not as the performer who looked back on what his moms and pops did, but me taking the initiative and being the one, and being the icon, or being the, you know, whatever, the philanthropist or whatever. It's me taking the initiative now.
And while Jay-Z's been opening up his pocket to the world, there's only one lady that's opened up his heart. Yes, it's Beyonce Knowles, superstar singer and acclaimed actress. And Jay-Z finally did the right thing and put a ring on it in 2008. But what about kids for Mrs. Jay-Z?
Who knows? That happens whenever it happens. It happens. It could happen in a year, it could happen in 5 years. but I'm in no rush, and I do think family is really, really important. I grew up with both of my parents and with my sister and my cousin and with Kelly and all the girls, and it was always a lot of love in my house. So I want the same thing.
And Jay-Z?
You know, when kids see me, it's real. It's a real talk. Kids take to me really fast, you know what I'm saying? So I've always thought about that. But I always wanted to do it the right way. That's why I don't have a family yet. I want to do it the right way. I don't want to be in Beirut, you know, while my kid is missing all of your son's first things, your first day of school, or your daughter, excuse me, you know, first day of school and first haircuts, and you in Beirut, you in performing at the pyramids in Egypt.
And even though they're individually massively successful stars in their own right, both admit that each other's opinions still count when it comes to their music. So what did Jay-Z think of Beyoncé's latest Sasha Fierce offering?
Oh, he loved the record. He knows, you know, even with Destiny's Child, Writings on the Wall, Destiny's Child, Kelly, Michelle, and I, we were the women that kind of stood up for women, and the same thing, you know, Independent Woman and Survivor and all those records. I feel like it's really sexy and beautiful to see a strong woman, and that's kind of what this is about.
So with her professional career to date earning her both acting and singing stripes, not to mention worldwide acclaim, and a marriage that's seemingly made in musical heaven, you could be forgiven for thinking that this super female success story from Houston, Texas may like to take a breather for a while. Then again, who are we kidding?
It's a goal to have a Tony and an Oscar and a Grammy, but I have a long way to go, and I have a lot of time for that. I don't plan on doing Broadway until I'm older with kids, and, you know, I feel like that would be a great job for me when I'm married and I want to tuck my kids in to bed and drop them off at school and, you know, go do my show for 2 hours and go back home every day. I feel like that's really stable, but I have time for that.
So with plenty more Beyoncé releases to come, and Jay-Z making the kind of music that millions of people just can't get enough of, hopefully the world's most famous rapper won't go retiring again anytime soon.
It happened. The day that you're not making music, you should just not make music. It doesn't have to be an announced retirement, you know. So I wouldn't say that again, never.